Do you have these fears for no logical reason or goal that you really want to reach, but you just can't, or that you just feel stuck in your life? Today I'm talking to Elizabeth, who is an ancestral clearing healer, and she's going to tell us how these wounds from our ancestors can keep us stuck in our life and keep us from reaching our goals. We're going to do a little bit of meditation, a bit of healing in this episode, so it's really important that you remember to drink a lot of water both before and after. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Elizabeth. And Elizabeth is going to tell us about ancestral clearing, yes, and wounds from ancestors. So, what is all of that for those who have no idea about any of this? Can you explain what it is? What's this about?
Yeah, there is a lot of discussion about ancestral healing these days. This is an actual trademarked, registered process. Ancestral clearing, registered and trademarked by John Newton of healthbeyondbelief.com. He's the one that teaches and trains practitioners in this, and I just happen to be one of those people. So the process is it's complementary to all other healing modalities, so supporting all other healing modalities. And what we're doing is helping to release the burden of past imprints and how they're showing up in the present. What does that even mean? So spiritual teachers have been telling us for thousands of years that we come into this life with the gifts and the burdens of our ancestors. And science has actually been able to measure 14 generations back. So that's interesting. In the DNA, that's how much they can measure. So that's how much they'll commit to. So that's, that's like 64,000 people. Going back 14 generations is roughly 64,000 people. So we're able to measure on the DNA the effects of 14 generations. So their imprints are on us. And how does that work? I'll give you an example kind of from the science so you can kind of track backwards. So the egg that was you was in your mom. But before it was in your mom, it was in your grandmother. Now, the way that works is when your grandmother was pregnant with your mother, the egg that is you was in your mother. So your egg that was you you occupied space both in your mom and your grandma in that time. So while your grandmother carried your mom for the next 5 months, you guys were sharing space with one another. And from a quantum point of view, where kind of looking at it from an energetic point of view, we experience energetically what our grandmothers did and our mothers, right? And then because how that works, our grandmother was in her mother and her grandmother, right? So there's this whole chain of energy, right? So from an energetic point of view, you can kind of look at it that way. And we can measure at least 14 generations. The other thing about another reason I'm bringing in the mother angle of it is that if you measure the mitochondria, which is this little organelle in every cell in the human body, it's the little energy producer. It's where the ATP. It's the engine for the cell. The mitochondria is passed down through the mother only. So all mitochondria from the mom. Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. So now, men carry mitochondria from their mothers. So it's not like we're excluding men. I'm just saying we get different kinds of information from our mothers than we do from our fathers. But I mean, I'm giving you the example of how science can trace that back through the mother line in two different ways. Another way that I can share with you how information's passed from one generation to another. I know you're in Denmark, but in America we have this. This is an international audience, of course. In North America, we have a butterfly called the Monarch Butterfly, and it winters in down south, either in Mexico, Texas, or Florida. This is kind of in this line, and depending on where it was born, really. And then in the spring it migrates north, and it has it lays eggs and feeds and has then the fifth generation to be born. So it reproduces a bunch of times, and the fifth generation to be born migrates back to wherever it came from. If it was Mexico, it migrates back to Mexico. If it was Florida, it migrates back to Florida. This all science has been done.
Yeah,
and,
that's interesting.
And so the question is, how does it know where to go? How does that work? The fifth generation, how does that work? Is passed down the information and the environment. Here's the other thing that's cool. It's that when the environment is favorable to them migrating, that information turns on, and there it is. They have it. So that talks to this other thing that brings in the other piece of it, which is environment, which is why ancestral clearing can work here and why our imprints show up in the present. Just to recap real quickly, for the Monarch Butterfly, it has that information in its DNA, but it doesn't become accessible until the environmental factors exert its influence on them, like the light and the temperature and that kind of stuff, like how many hours the sun is up and stuff like that. Yeah. So information's passed down through the generations, and whether it's active or not is depends kind of on what's happening in the environment. And so, for instance, we have for instance, as I do this work every day on the planet somewhere with somebody, when the pandemic hit, it was really interesting to see how many people came to me, and the burden that was showing up for them was around long-term illness, Lyme's disease, pandemic stuff, just kind of long-term other kinds of viruses that were sticking around. But it all came up in that space. A lot of fear. We ended up doing a lot of clearing. We meaning I hold the space. Source energy. I bring in source energy. We ask for source energy to come in and help us on our behalf. And so it's a we thing. It's a co-creative process. And we ended up doing clearings for things like the plague. Imprints that were showing up in the present that were left from the plague years back in the Middle Ages, if it makes sense. So it wasn't just so we had this worldwide illness that showed up in 2020, and it brought up and the environment kind of brought into present awareness of imprints that were left from trauma that was experienced during the Middle Ages with the plague the last time. It just isn't, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was actually just 100 years ago, wasn't it? We had the Spanish flu, at least over here in Europe. That was pretty hard, and that's just 100 years ago.
Yeah, we did too. Yeah, we had that here too, and then more recently we had AIDS, right? And there was a lot of it was very interesting, the things that people were coming to me with. Mostly it was fear, kind of what do I do now, and I'm overwhelmed. There was so we're looking at what's showing up for them in their lineage, and the other piece of it is what's showing up in the collective in the present moment. What's happening in the collective consciousness? And there was a lot of fear, and people were feeling it.
Mm. Yeah,
So
because collective consciousness is like what we're all thinking, what we're all feeling. Like 9/11, everybody, that was,
yeah.
something where you could all feel it. So that was kind of a collective. Um,
Hmm. Sure.
yeah.
Sure. So the ancestral clearing addresses imprints that are from the past that are affecting us in the present. And why is that important? Because we're all trying to heal. We're trying to see clearly. And when we are able to release the burden of those imprints, we then can see clearly and we heal better. And I had lived experience of that when I first started in practice. Um, I was had chronic pain for 4 decades, and I went into a pain management program, and I have this science background, so I I didn't know anything about. I knew something about Sanskrit words as power words, and I knew that, but I didn't know really anything about English in terms of words being powerful. I knew something there had been some research done on the power of prayer, and we ended up part of the about 80% of the
So
practices
prayer is part of the healing process.
is part of the because we're actually asking you know creator consciousness God whatever you
It's
want to
like
call that.
ordering food or something. Like you're sending out and
We're
uh,
asking we're
yeah,
asking
yeah,
her
but it's kind of
to
just to make it relatable, because we're kind of we're ordering something and then we get it brought.
we ask and we get an answer, and my experience is that when I ask from the heart I get an answer anytime that I'm asking whatever that power is, if it's not from so much the head but from the heart, when it's
Mm,
coming from a felt sense, boy do I get an answer. I may not get the answer I'm looking for, but but I get an answer and it's a good answer. so so
mm,
we access this power, and anyway, I had a felt experience of it, and I was shocked because I had no idea that we didn't even say the prayer out loud. We just read it silently, and and it wasn't just me that had an effect in the room. I was in the room with 20 other people, and I felt the room change, and I felt other people reported. They started with a a very high level of pain, and they went down to a much lower number, and I was one of those people. All of us did, and I was like, what's happening here? We got to measure this, and can we test it, and and can
mm,
you repeat it, and does he teach it, and all of that was, and the answers to all those things was yes. We don't know how to actually measure it yet in terms of like a blood marker, which I'd kind of like to see some objective measurable
mm.
associated with the work. But people feel it. You can feel a shift in the body, an energetic shift in the body, and I know I did. My pain started just dissolving. I was just like, "What happened?" All right, I didn't expect it. It wasn't like he was leading the. It wasn't like they were leading the witness there. It was just there. It was. So very powerful process. It's surprising how much I was surprised how much the past had imprinted on my current reality. And when I was able to release at least some of the burden of that, I felt lighter, and the constriction and tightness in my body just melted away.
So for you, it was like it was pain, physical chronic pain, right? It could also be, the at least from what I know, it could also be if you like want something, you have a goal in life and you just can't achieve it. There's something kind of blocking you, or you have a fear of something that you don't know where it comes from. Like, I've never experienced anything bad around this. Why am I afraid of this? Or all of these
Yeah,
things that kind of we can explain in our life in some way.
exactly. Yeah, it's quite remarkable. And another thing I love about the process is there's 5 different techniques within it, and what we a few of them we can just kind of go. Um, the process itself takes us for the client right back kind of to the root, and
Mm,
we can kind of see, we can kind of see what it's about. We may not see where is it, and who was it, and we might not get all that, but we kind of get the meaning of it. And I give you an example. I was working with somebody yesterday, and there was loneliness. There was a real longing attachment thing going on, and we worked the process, did a bunch of clearing around that, and what the root ended up being was that somewhere in the lineage somebody had a loved one, probably a husband, who was a sailor, went to sea and never came back, and the spouse never knew what happened, and this longing, right, this long, and went to their grave with this longing of, where's my
Yeah.
where's my partner kind of thing. And who knows, what happened, with the children in that family, right? Is the way it kind of turned out that it was a woman, and she had children, and she was pregnant, and
Yeah, and then it just, like you said, it continues in the next generation and the next generation. If it's a strong, I guess does it matter how strong this experience is, or could it be any kind of experience that is it everything that kind of goes through all of the generations as an as
I
a
would I would the way I look at it is the if it's unresolved, if it goes from one generation to the next unresolved, undealt with, it's got its own energy. That passes on, and it can show up in all, because it does. I mean, I've been in this work for 8.5 years. I've been doing the work for as a practitioner for 8, but I've been in the work for about 8.5, and on a regular basis, in not just doing the as a practitioner, but as a student of it. And I'm surprised after all this time how much still comes up. Stuff I'm still clearing. Right, we've got there's a lot going on in the what did I say? 14 generations is like 65,000 people. So
So do you ever get done? How do we approach it? Like,
yeah,
because
that's great question. So what this process is all about, what's showing up in the present moment. What is here that's blocking me from evolving, right? Or we all want to evolve. And so the idea of like, well, what's blocking me from my own evolution is whatever's showing up in the present moment likely
so
has a
just
root.
take whatever comes up when it comes up. It's because it's ready to
Yeah,
be healed and
yeah. I don't really get into, oh, I have to do this the rest of my life. I'm kind of like, well, what's showing up now? Because not in every present moment, and not in every moment is some kind of block showing up. Some moments, in some present moments, blocks show up, but not in all of them. So it's kind of like, what's showing up in this one? Like,
yeah. So how is there a way is there something you can do by yourself? Because now probably not everyone has the means to go to a healer, or yeah, is there something you can do by yourself that can help in any
well,
way?
I'll give you an experience of it, and what we do is we bring in whatever the name of the higher power is. Um, you don't even have to believe in a higher power for this practice to work. I always say gravity acts on us whether we believe in it or not. So
Yeah.
we call in something that's bigger and greater than we are, more loving, and we
You
come
can
in,
call it God or Islam or
whatever, yeah,
life
whatever,
source or
yeah, whatever your name is for what that force is, and then we ask with gratitude and humility, and then we ask for the forgiveness. In this case, when we ask for forgiveness, we're offering up the burden that we're carrying to this higher power to help us release it. We're asking for help, asking for its help in releasing it. That's how we're doing that. So that's kind of the way we put that together in a prayer. And I can give you just a short experience of that. That'll be it's powerful in this present moment. But of course, this is most people will see this as a replay, and it's just as powerful a replay as the present moment. So whoever is listening to this in this moment, if you could just sit comfortably and allow these words to just kind of wash over you. And I'll try and keep it fairly short. Just notice what you feel, what you're feeling in the body as I say these words, and maybe get an idea if there's something, if you're feeling something. Say you've got maybe a sore back, or maybe you've got the side of your neck or your shoulder or your knee or something. Just notice what's the level of intensity from 0 to 10 of that sensation that you're feeling. And we'll see, we'll do that to start with, and then we'll see where it is when we end.
What if you don't have something?
Yeah, we'll just if you don't have anything, just notice where you are now, and we'll notice what happens if there's any change at all at the end. We're not looking for a change, we're just kind of saying present and noticing. That's all we're doing.
Okay.
So, higher power, source of all that is, for everyone listening to this, wherever you are, and all of your ancestors through all space, all time, all dimensions, realms, lifetimes, and incarnations, for all hurts and wrongs ever done to them and to you in word, thought, word, or deed, any hurts and wrongs you did to others, whether knowingly or unknowingly, and any hurts and wrongs you did to yourselves. Please help you all forgive each other, help you all forgive yourselves, please and thank you. For any time anyone was abandoned, not supported, loved and cherished the way they needed, times they weren't able to abandon others, weren't able to support others and love others the way they needed, and times they weren't able to love themselves, please help them all to forgive each other, help them all forgive themselves, please and thank you. For any time you didn't listen to your heart, anytime you said you felt rejected, dismissed, not honored, please help you all forgive each other, help you all forgive yourselves, please and thank you. One moment. For all empathic hurts and wrongs, times you took on others' unresolved burdens, at times as others did this to you, please help you all forgive each other, help you all forgive yourselves, please and thank you. For all weight, pain, burden, sin, death, debt, negativity of any kind, please help you all forgive each other, help you all forgive yourself, release one another and release yourselves. For all of it, no matter what it was, please and thank you. Please and thank you, please and thank you. Now take a breath in and let it out and just notice how that feels. Big or small or different. We'll add here, for all the bullies in your lives, times you did this to others, and for all war, Holocaust, disagreement, arguments, times we just couldn't get along and how it all blew up, all the heartache and suffering that led up to it, all the heartache and suffering that ensued because of it. Please help them all forgive each other, help you all forgive yourselves, please and thank you. All right, take another breath in and let it out, and just notice how it feels. So that's just a little taste. I do 50-minute sessions and really zero in on kind of what's happening in each person's life. That was kind of a general one for the listening audience, but people will feel the effects of that. It's kind of like
for that specific. When you have a session, it's more for your specific issue, challenge.
But we all have the things that I brought in. We all have all.
Yeah. So,
Somewhere in the lineage we have that stuff. So
yeah.
it works for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. Well, thank you for that. Thank you. So, mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah. So doing this, it's kind of, you're using the word forgiving a lot. So we're kind of forgiving ourselves and others, and that releases the blocking, the fear, whatever it is that's kind of holding us back or keeping us stuck, or
We're actually offering up the burden that we're carrying, the forgiveness part. We're actually offering that up to higher power to help us release, help us to aid us in releasing what we're carrying.
and we're doing
That
that for all of,
that's
for
right.
our
For
past
ourselves,
generations,
for everyone that came before us.
so
Yep.
we
And
don't carry it on to our
that's
children and their children, so they have to
yeah.
deal with the same shit that that we have to,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah. And the other thing is that from a science point of view, when quantum physics came in and kind of came onto the scene, we understood on a very fundamental basis that in the present moment we can access past, present, and future. So when we do that, that's why we can actually clear the past,
Mm,
because we're in the present moment doing this work. Remember, I said everybody stay present, just notice what you feel, stay right here, and the quantum field does the rest. The
mm,
creator of the quantum field and the word, it all takes care of itself. It's as close to magic as I can experience, and I don't
yeah.
use that word lightly, but because I can't explain it,
So it's like
I
a miracle.
yeah, and it is a miracle, and I can't give you, you know, what's the mechanism in the brain and the body. I
Mm,
can't I can't give you all that because
no.
that's where my science brain goes. Well, but here's the thing. Science it can only discuss or comment on what it can observe, measure, and describe. But where does healing happen? It
Mm,
happens in the all that is, not just in the part that science recognizes. So this work works on all those levels, the epigenetic level, and it works in the unseen, the part that we can't. So I that's the miracle part, because it's
mhm.
the unseen, and I can't comment on it because, other than to say it's
Usually it
magic.
can't be explained.
Yeah, it can't
That's
be
why we
explained.
call it healing, or a miracle of what I've heard, because like you say, you can't say why, you don't know what's going on, you just know that something's happening and it's working.
That's right. Yeah, we also feel a lightness. We tend to feel a lightness with this work. You might feel a dissolving of a tight sensation or intense sensation, but you also we often feel just a lighter in the body.
So is there
And
any like side effects, if we can call it that, if you experience, maybe you get sick after listening to this, or doing some healing, or maybe you get a headache or something? Is there, can there be something like that?
I don't. We don't really notice it that way. Whatever, but the work is we stay present with whatever is, and not attach, get worried or attach a story to it. We just stay present with whatever is. I often suggest that people drink water, plenty
Mm.
of water after a clearing, in the day that we're doing the work, because we're detoxing you on a spiritual level, but we're also you can't separate mind, body, and spirit. So what you're doing to one, you're doing to all, and the water
Yeah.
helps to clear out
Everything
the
is layered in the body, like you said. It's carried on through the generation. It's carried on in the
yeah.
body. Yeah. So if you feel after maybe the next few days you experience something in the body, or emotional, like you get really sad or really angry for some reason you don't know, you just stay with it. And
Yeah. We don't often get kind of those kinds of comments. We normally
okay,
we feel lighter,
okay.
and but occasionally something comes up, but
Yeah, just, yeah,
the
I know
practice
from
is
other
like,
kinds of healings that, and when like you will also when you get a massage or something like that, you know, things are happening in their body and you can experience this. Maybe you get tired or emotions coming up because they're kind of being cleansed out.
Yeah. And we'd
But
also consider that would be the next layer coming in, right? Whatever, because we cleared something out. No, now this one's present. So
yeah,
we
so
work on
new
that.
ones comes up. Yeah.
Yeah. So that
Yeah.
would be another way that we look at that. And again, we would bring in, um, uh, we would bring in higher power, ask for the on our behalf for the ancestors and ourselves, with gratitude and humility, the please and thank you, and what we're offering up to release. That's kind of
Great.
how the prayers
Yeah.
structured.
Great. Well,
Anyway,
thank you so much for sharing. Is there anything else you want to say here? And
well, I would just
feel
like to
free.
say that the greatest healer in our lives lives within. And so I feel like it's really important to reference that and understand that perspective. It's not now, you know, doctors are amazing, and I'm grateful for them. They can set a bone and stitch up a wound, but they can't tell the body how to heal. Only the body knows how to do that. The mind, body, spirit
Mm.
system knows how to do that. So I just
Yeah.
directing everybody back in that direction. That's the source.
Mm. Great. Yes. Thank you so much for being here and sharing with that. And thank you for listening. I hope you felt something through this healing. And if you want to know more, you can find the details down below. So thank you, Elizabeth, for coming, and we will see you again another time. Bye.
Bye now.